Hello and welcome to this follow-up builder tutorial in ResponsiBid. I'm excited to show you around, and I know a lot of our customers think this is their favorite part of ResponsiBid just because it makes sure that none of their customers ever get lost in the mix of things and no one ever gets forgotten. So what I'd like to do now is both an in-depth and also a fairly quick tutorial on every single aspect of the follow-up builder so that you can be a professional follow-up user. The first thing that I'd like to direct you to is that once you've gone to settings and you've gone to the follow-up builder area, you'll notice that there are several statuses. Now these statuses are these first ones are all default statuses. They will never change the name, and you really can't do anything about the name of them, but you can use them different ways. Now a status represents where a prospect or customer is at in the buying cycle. So let me tell you exactly what each one means. Open means that a customer has received a bid but has had no other contact. They haven't said they want to schedule, they haven't obviously scheduled or become a customer, maybe they haven't even chosen a package or indicated anything that they're interested in other than the initial bid. The pending status is somebody who has indicated that they'd like to schedule but they have not scheduled yet. And of course, scheduled means that there is an appointment on the books for a future date to perform work. A closed status is somebody who had a scheduled date, but it probably automatically flipped to closed, meaning that they had a job, but it was scheduled in the past. Unfortunately, there's declined bids, and a declined bid is simply somebody who at some point told you thanks for the bid, but no thanks. I don't want the work to be done. The word visit is actually short for visit for bid. Visit for bid means this customer maybe spoke to somebody in person or over the phone. They said they wanted to get a bid. You scheduled a date and a time to give them the bid, put in some preliminary information about that person, but they still have not even become an open bid yet. So they're really early in the buying cycle. Now you'll notice that I have a custom bid here, and I actually named this custom, but you can make as many statuses as you'd like by simply clicking on the plus symbol, and then you can click on the edit button, which will allow you to name the sequence and then also decide how you want your sequence to work. Almost all of our sequences are present day sequences, meaning that if someone enters into a status, they will start receiving follow-up chronologically from the time that they enter the status. But there are future-based statuses, and a future date status means we have a date in the future that we'd like to send emails before and after, and that would be something like a scheduled appointment. Maybe you want to send an email 2 days before a job happens and maybe 3 days after the job is over. Now, they're kind of uncommon, but the scheduled sequence works that way, and you might decide that you want to make other sequences that work similarly. I'm going to delete this because it doesn't serve any purpose for us right now. You can see here that in the custom status I have one step. You'll notice that in the open status I have really 6 steps if you count the admin notification. What I'd like to do now is explain how each status has its own follow-up all built into it. So in the case of an open status, as soon as someone gets a bid, step 1 is going to send an email that goes in 15 minutes immediately after the bid, and then it will go to the person's email who got the bid, and it will come from the person in your company that you choose for it to come from. You'll of course be able to put your subject line in and build an email. We'll give you some default stuff to get started, but you can tweak it to any way you'd want for your company. And please note that there is also ways to kind of give yourself some bold text. You can merge things in. For example, in this case, if I wanted to retype this line and I wanted the email to say, hello, and then obviously we don't know the person's first name yet, but we will as soon as they get a bid. So I'm going to put in first name, and wherever my cursor is, we'll put in the little short code that indicates first name, and then I put a comma. Now if I want to have their last name, I would not put the comma, I'd put a space, and then I'd choose the last name, and then put my comma. So that is one way to do it, and then you can see that obviously if I want to give them a link to see their proposal, ResponsiBid allows you to go back up to the merge fields and choose on proposal link, and it will input that short code in as well. That can be very, very helpful for you. In other places in ResponsiBid, you'll put what time they're scheduled and when you're going to arrive and things like that. And these codes work exactly the same way. Obviously, someone who just got a bid doesn't have a scheduled date, so it would just come through as blank if I left that in there. But I'm going to get rid of it because it doesn't make any sense. You can align and do all sorts of other things that you would with any other text editor. I should note that you can put hyperlinks in, and you also can put images inside of your follow-up emails. So that's very, very helpful. This email is set to go 15 minutes before. This email is set to go 2 days later. And this email is also set to go 2 days after the job is scheduled. So this one is actually not set up the way that I would recommend. I'd probably send this to go 3 days after the status so that we can at least give them a few days to breathe. This one's going to go at 9 a.m. 2 days after. This one's going to also go at 9 a.m. 3 days after, now that I've changed it. This one's set to go 6 days after the actual bid. You can see that I've chosen to go to the contacts email, again from someone within the company that you can choose from, any of your users, and then I can change these timers however I like. But sometimes it might not make sense. For example, maybe this particular one you don't want to use anymore. All you have to do is click on delete. It'll make sure that you want to do that, and it'll go away. Also, you'll notice that I have a notification email set to go. Instead of choosing the contacts email, we just chose somebody inside of the company. We could even choose multiple people in the company, or even everybody in the company and the contact if we wanted. But in this case, I'm going to send a notification email to just 2 people in the company. I'm going to leave it enabled. You could turn this step off and just have it here, but not actually in use. And then you can see that it says we need to follow up with a phone call to this person. It's an open bid. They got a bid on this date for this house size, a link to their proposal, and a few other key pieces of information. Now, we might want to rename this from something like admin notification email to lead getting cold. No one will ever see that except for the follow-up builder, but it makes it so that next time we come into the follow-up builder, you can see that it'll be very easy to look and see what's going on inside of each step just by seeing how you name the step. From here, I'd like to take you to the company profile. Now, the important thing about the company profile is that you're able to set up your users and who's going to be sending emails and who's going to be able to receive SMS messages. So in this case, I've been using Amber Services account, and when I log in, you can see that we've got an email address, which every username is, and we also have a first name, last name, and we haven't put in a mobile number yet. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put in a mobile number. Then ResponsiBid wants to know, is it okay if ResponsiBid sends text messages to that number? And I'm going to say yes, because that's going to be really important to do what I'm going to show you in the follow-up builder in a minute. By default, ResponsiBid is going to set up all of the emails to come from our ResponsiBid mail server, but just like MailChimp or any other really big mail automation company, it will mask our server with your email address so that if somebody replies to it, it would go to your email. There is a small problem with that though, because sometimes emails that come from mail servers that are masked using your proxy email can sometimes end up in the spam box or even blocked completely by certain mail providers. For example, yahoo.com email addresses will oftentimes not even let the person see in their spam folder any email that comes from a masked email server. We do give you a way to work around that, and that is to choose to use your own email servers. This is very, very similar to the way it would work if you set up email on your phone, meaning that you can send email from your phone and it literally logs into your real mail account and sends from your mail account whenever an email goes out. That means that you'll be able to see in your sent folder any emails that you sent, and also it means that when it goes to someone's email account, there will be no proxy server. All emails will come directly from you. Now, there are some downsides to this, and I would definitely recommend that you check this out, but there's a lot of upsides, and we highly recommend it. You can enter either your custom settings or you can enter some of the default ones that we provide for you. Just simply put in your username and password, and when you click save, it will set it up so that it will come directly from your email account. Obviously, at that point, ResponsiBid will be completely checked out of being able to know any bounces or any other open rates of your emails, but it's a small price to pay to make sure that your emails look very, very personal because they are coming directly from your account. So once you've set up your particular user and you've got it just the way you want, and maybe even set up all the other users in your company, let's head back over to the follow-up builder. As you'll remember in the last section, I talked about you receiving SMS messages at your cell phone. ResponsiBid is able to send SMS messages to your customers as well if they opt in to be able to receive text messages. So the next thing I want to show you how to do is how to make sure that you are able to send text messages from ResponsiBid. Now, the way text messaging works is ResponsiBid cannot send text messages from your cell phone or even on behalf of your cell phone. But what we do offer you is a free phone number that you can get from ResponsiBid. So just give it a title. Let's call it that. And you can give it an area code. And then you can say that any text message sent to this phone number that we're going to give you will automatically forward to your cell phone so that you can be able to see it. I'm going to go ahead and just put in a fake number right now. And I'm going to hit submit. So right now, ResponsiBid went in, shopped for a phone number for you, bought it for you for any text messages that are sent through your follow-up in an automated way, which we haven't set up yet. We're going to do that in a minute. But anytime someone replies to one of those follow-ups, I told ResponsiBid that it needs to go to this phone number. Now you can ensue into a conversation by receiving the text messages automatically forwarded to your phone, even though nobody will actually see your phone number until you actually determine that you want to reply using your own phone. It's pretty good. Now, it'll be very important that you do not have this checked. You'll want to have this unchecked to disable SMS text messaging, because if you've got a phone number and you want to start using it, you want to start allowing people to opt in anytime a bid is given, that they can give permission for you to send text messages to their phone number. Now, how are we going to use this? It's actually pretty simple. Let's say that my scheduled appointment confirmation, maybe instead of using my email confirmation, maybe I'd like to go ahead and add another confirmation the same time that goes out 2 days before. So I'm going to click on Add a Step, and you'll notice that when the step is added, it comes in disabled by default. Let's go ahead and set it up, and then we'll decide if we want to enable it. What we're going to do is we're going to determine what kind of thing we want this step to do. We've already talked a lot about emails, but we haven't talked at all about these two really. So let's go ahead and set up an SMS text message, and we want this to go 2 days before the job is scheduled. And let's see, we're going to send the email out at 10 a.m. Let's go ahead and just send it out at 10 a.m. as well. In this case, we've already opted our own phone number in, so we could set this up as a notification of some sort to ourselves and actually have the number text us and let us know. But that won't make a lot of sense. So we're going to go ahead and send it just to the contact, the person who we have scheduled the appointment for. And then of course, we can only send it from the one number that we've created. Now in this case, we'd like to say, maybe I should probably say what my company is. Okay, so that's the kind of text message that's going to go. We could even say that we're going to arrive at a certain time. So we plan to arrive between that time and that time. Okay, I'm going to save this. And when we go back into the scheduled sequence, you'll see that we have an appointment confirmation, and I'm going to call this an SMS confirmation. Now this will only be sent to people who have opted in their text message number, and of course any of our emails are only sent to people who have not opted out of receiving emails from us. Now that we've got that set, you can now send text messages, and you can sprinkle them throughout however you'd like. You'll notice when you look at this that we still have it turned off, so I need to turn it on and save that, and we're now good to go. Okay, so the last thing that I'd like to go over inside of the follow-up builder, a couple things. The emails, you can also carbon copy yourself or anyone from your company on different emails by just simply in the to field and selecting multiple names. So in some cases, you'll want to receive a message that goes out, and all you have to do is select how many people you want and then click off of the select. In this case, I could actually send you see the check marks. It's going to every single person. This email will go to the contact, and it'll carbon copy Amber and David on this email. That's really useful in the cases that you like to blind carbon copy yourself so that you know what emails are going out. But just keep in mind that if you blind carbon copy yourself on every email that you're constantly sending out, it's going to overwhelm your inbox quite a bit, and you'll end up getting trained to ignore. So we ask you to use a little bit of caution there. It definitely will help you to be able to see which emails your customers are getting. Before I show you how to flip a sequence, I also want to make sure you understand, in all of these other sequences, including your custom sequences, ResponsiBid is going to keep sending everything out until the status changes. A customer can only be in one status at a time. So if I've got 6 steps here, but the customer moves out of a pending job and becomes scheduled right after the very first step, parts of the sequence will stop. And keep in mind, you can add an infinite number of steps. So if you want to have really, really good follow-up and set up 100 steps, that doesn't mean that everybody in the pending sequence will get all 100 steps. It just means that they're going to get up to 100 steps before it ends. And if they move on, they'll only get the ones that they got until they changed their status. Now I'll show you in a little bit within the customer profile how statuses get changed, but I can also show you another way that they happen in an automated way. So here's the perfect example. I showed you earlier how you could add a step that would automatically change a status. Well, a scheduled sequence is the perfect example of when you would do that. Here in the scheduled sequence, you can see that we've got an email that goes out to notify the customer just 15 minutes after you get off the phone for scheduling the job. That'll let them know when you're coming out, what you're going to do. Obviously, you'll customize this however you choose for your company. But then we have another one that goes out 2 days before the job at 10 a.m. And of course, you already saw the SMS that we built that goes out at the same time. And then we have one that sends just to us at the company that will let us know, hey, if they haven't replied yet, you need to call and confirm this job. Well, here's the final step of the schedule sequence. One day after the job is scheduled, at midnight, we're going to change the status to closed. Now, the cool thing about switching it to closed is that means once you've scheduled the job, you know that they're going to get all the follow-up of scheduled and they're going to get followed up with until the closed stuff ends. Now, this is one I would definitely recommend having a huge number on so that you're checking in every 3 to 6 months, or depending on however often your service requires. They may only get 3 or 4 of these emails before they actually become a scheduled job again. Either way, once you've scheduled the job, you know that they're never going to fall through the cracks. So be smart about this and feel free to use any of the text that we put inside of the follow-ups. A word of caution, make sure that all of your follow-ups always sound natural. You don't want it to feel like an automated email, because if you do, then people become trained to ignore and they don't feel any responsibility to reply to you or to engage with your emails. It's really important that your emails are all crafted to sound like they're coming directly from you, directly to them. Once we get to the end of the close sequence, there really isn't anywhere to go unless you add a step that throws them into another sequence. Now, I don't know what that might be, but that's completely up to you because you can add as many as you'd like. All right, now that you're a professional in getting the follow-up set up, let me show you how it works in practice. If you go to the dashboard, you'll be able to find all your accounts, and you, of course, can see that this is just a test account, but I've already got somebody here who's gotten a bid and who you can see all the general information on. We can even see the status right now is pending. If we scroll down and open up the accordion for the follow-up status, you can see that the open status was set to go and 3 emails went out and 3 didn't. And you can also see that in pending, all of the emails have already gone out. In this particular case, let's say that we want to schedule the job. All you'd have to do is go on the status and choose which status you want to use, which of course is going to be scheduled. The bid that's on file will provide you with all the packages that were presented to the customer, and you can choose which ones you want to use. We click the package, we select the date the job is going to happen, which of course is going to be in the future. It won't even allow you to pick a date in the past. And then you can even pick what time you're going to arrive for the job. Whatever you've set up your work hours to be and however far your increments are going to be apart, we have a 2-hour time window that we automatically build. You can set it to be different if you'd like and customize it for a particular customer. Maybe I'll say between 12 and 1:30. And then simply click book it. A lot of things are happening right now, and ResponsiBid's doing an immense amount of information with knowing that it's scheduled, but you can see that we've scheduled the job to happen on this date. This is the dollar amount we're going to do. We can see what we have on file for this particular customer. And now the magic you can see is that the pending sequence has stopped, and if there were any steps that were going to be run, you would see that they look like they had been stopped, and you can see what's all scheduled to happen next. One of the neatest things that you can do inside of ResponsiBid is you can just let the templates run, or you can go out and you can even make changes. For example, if you want to say, hi, this is Kurt from All Clean Windows. We'd like to confirm our appointment with you in 2 days and give you the times. You can also add something specifically for this customer. All I have to do is click Save Changes. Of course, you can also notice that you could trigger it now. You could change the date and time that you want this to go out. By simply saving it, you'll notice now that whenever you come back into this particular profile and open up the follow-up builder, you'll notice that there's been an edit, and it's going to stay that way. This is specifically for this customer. And you can do that for emails or SMS messages. You can stop the follow-up and resume it. Anything that you need to do to make sure that your follow-ups are going as smoothly as possible. But it's always nice to be able to look and see what follow-ups happened in the archive and also what follow-ups going to be happening in the future. The other thing that I'd like to call your attention to is noticing that there is email opt-in, and we call that explicit opt-in. That's for our Canadian friends who aren't allowed to send emails to people unless they've explicitly opted in. And also, very importantly, is text SMS opt-in. Text SMS opt-in shows in real time whether the person's opted in or not. The explicit opt-in for email is really only there to let you know what you were originally told at the time of the bid. Let me show you what I mean. You'll see that when you're filling out the bid, at the very bottom, once you've enabled both explicit email opt-in and the SMS opt-in options, that there will be two questions that are asked inside of the bidding process. In the email one, if they say yes, then that'll set them to an explicit opt-in of yes. And conversely, if they opt out, then it would set their explicit opt-in to no. Now for SMS, they can opt themselves in, and that'll obviously make it yes, and this would obviously make it no. But let's go back to the customer profile and talk about what some of the implications are. First of all, you can always see what someone's phone number opt-in status is by clicking on the first phone number there and seeing if there's a green phone or a red phone. If somebody was to talk to you and tell you to stop texting them, you could just click on their phone number, click on the phone, and it'll refresh the page, and you'll notice that now their opt-in status is no. That's important to understand because you can look right in a profile and know right away if somebody's opted in or not. Email is a little bit different. If you click on the email address, you can see that this person is opted in because of the green envelope, but you could also opt them out by clicking on that envelope. Now you'll notice this time when the page refreshes, it still says that the explicit opt-in was yes, and that's true. When they originally set up, they did tell you that they wanted to have emails sent to them. But when you click on the email address, you'll see that the envelope is red, and you'll also notice that now any emails going forward, SMS or emails at this point, are going to be opted out. Now these two items, flipping the appointment afterward and sending an email notification to the admin, of course those are still scheduled because you guys aren't opted out. That's how that works. So you can opt people in and out manually. That's through email and the phone number. And the email explicit opt-in is a little bit different than the SMS text opt-in. Well, that's it for the follow-up builder. We've been pretty comprehensive, and I know I went through it pretty quick, but I hope you see how it all fits together and makes you a complete all-star with your customers and empowers you to be confident in knowing that all of your customers will be followed up with exactly the way you'd want every single time.